Now we recognize the gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Bishop.
Thank you, Chairman Velasquez and Ranking Member Shabbat, and especially to all the committee members physically present right here in this hearing room in Washington, along with our distinguished witnesses, which demonstrates the kind of leadership the American people need to see. Thanks. I join those who've complimented you and those serving with you, especially for your historic accomplishment in implementing the Paycheck Protection Program. Secretary Mnuchin, as you have observed, the key to that historic success and speed was enlisting private sector financial institutions, including traditional banks, fintechs, credit unions, CDFIs, to serve as the conduit for massive relief to huge numbers of small businesses. Given that fantastic success, if Congress legislates additional relief, we would be wise to continue the model of PPP and keep private sector lenders enlisted in the mission. But we've heard that lender fatigue is an issue. This is attributable in part to the fact that after these business entities jumped to respond to the call of the federal government, a number now face frivolous lawsuits, proving that too often, when government is concerned, no good deed goes unpunished. As the administration looks at additional relief measures, it seems to me that we should try to prove that adage wrong for once, mainly by clarifying that the current hold harmless language, which protects PPP lenders from liability, applies throughout the life of the loan. Mr. Secretary and Madam Administrator, isn't it important to fight lender fatigue in this way, and will you work with us on this protection for lenders who have done so much to help in the current crisis?
Yes, we'll work with you. Thank you.
Madam Administrator?
Likewise.
Shouldn't we also be looking at that same issue for small businesses who face similar concerns, that is, frivolous liability, frivolous lawsuits?
Yes, one of the concerns I had was that we don't take any measures that would be punitive to the borrower or the lender, especially when we have started with 1,800 authorized lenders and grew that to 5,500, and the Secretary and I are still working on an additional non-traditional lenders that are still applying to provide PPP loans. And we are looking forward to making sure that the underserved, the sole proprietors, and the independent contractors really have an opportunity with this over $100 billion that remain.
Thank you, ma'am. Administrator Carranza, I want to follow up on an issue that's disturbed millions of Americans. It is now widely known that abortion provider Planned Parenthood brazenly violated the law concerning business affiliation by taking $80 million of PPP loans via its affiliates. The American people want to know how the SBA failed to act in real time to prevent this wrongdoing, and how it will act quickly to compel the return of those funds and prosecute those responsible.
I'll answer that question in two manners. One, we do not discuss individual loan issues publicly. And secondly, we will be reviewing all affiliations and all loans closely.
Madam Chairman, I request unanimous consent to submit for the record the May 19, 2020 letter of SBA Associate Administrator William Manger to Planned Parenthood of Delaware, Incorporated, including the investigative document request and interrogatories appended thereto. Finally, Mr. Secretary, your testimony referred to your anticipation of additional relief to business, and importantly that it will be targeted to parts of the economy that need it most, as our economy is starting to move from lockdown to restart. Undoubtedly, the lockdowns hit certain industries harder, and I was pleased to hear that your answer to Ranking Member Shabbat that in targeting the relief, administration proposes to rely on neutral standards such as documented pandemic-related revenue loss. Can you elaborate on the threshold you have in mind of revenue loss that would warrant relief, and do you believe that relief would be graduated in proportion to the degree of revenue loss?
Well, I look forward to working with this committee and the Senate committee to determine those issues. Again, as you just raised, we should look at whether it should be a specific number or graduated. So yes, we look forward to working with you. But I think it's important that we target this to the businesses that are hardest hit.
Agreed, Mr. Secretary. And I guess last point, I'm curious if you would agree that the reason to do that, to target it according to revenue loss rather than, say, picking specific industries, is that to do the latter would be both over-inclusive and under-inclusive. And you might arbitrarily pick winners and losers rather than responding to a particular need.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Time has